All right, welcome back to the website basics. We're going to talk about cookies today, not the nom 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 delicious ones that Cookie Monster wants to come get from you, but in fact, the cookies that are found on your website. So we're looking for, does the website have a cookie policy and a consent notification? Having a cookie policy and a consent notification is essential for informing your users that you've got cookies on your website and that you are obtaining their informed consent. So this transparency helps comply with privacy regulations like the GDPR in Europe and the CCPA in California. And again, want to mention that a couple of other states are actually working on legislation now to require the transparency of cookies being placed on people's browsers. These privacy regulations, like the GDPR, require explicit user consent. They have to say, yes, it is okay for you to track my information. I give you permission. This is before any personal data is collected through cookies. So by asking visitors if it's okay to remember their preferences, you not only enhance their experience, but you also build trust by showing respect for their privacy. A clear cookie policy and a consent mechanism helps you avoid legal trouble and prevent damage to user trust. Users expect and deserve to understand how their data is being handled, and meeting this expectation is pretty crucial for maintaining satisfaction and loyalty and ensuring that your business remains safe and reputable. So let's talk about why a cookie consent policy is important. In many regions, like I said, even the European Union with its General Data Protection Regulation, that's the GDPR, websites are legally required to inform users about the use of cookies that track personal information. So a cookie consent policy helps websites follow these laws. It makes users aware of the cookies being used, and it gains their consent before the cookies are activated. Now, I want to interrupt my own script here to say, most people don't necessarily know exactly what a cookie is. So if you are using Google Tag Manager or the Facebook Pixel, and there's a few more, but those are the primary ones, or HubSpot, you might also have HubSpot. If you're putting a little script or anything in the header or in the footer of your website that's containing user data and tells you about where your users are from and what their behavior is and what pages they visited on your website, that's a cookie. Those are placing little pieces of information on people's browsers, and it is tracking information. And yes, it is 100% helpful for you as a business to gather that information, to know about your users, and to help provide the information that they're looking for. But there are some really clear regulations that are enforceable, and I do mean legally and financially enforceable, that you absolutely should follow in order to stay on the positive side of the law. So these cookies, these little Google Tag Managers, these little trackers, they collect a lot of information about how someone uses a website. They track pages visited, choices made, and even personal details if entered. A cookie consent policy respects user privacy. It informs them about the data collected and lets them choose whether or not to agree to it. By informing users about the use of cookies and what their data is actually being used for, your website, your business builds user trust and provides transparency. This openness can increase your market share because people do business with companies that they know, like, and trust. They see that the website takes their information and their privacy seriously. Cookies are often used to improve the user experience, and that is 100% okay. They do this by remembering user preferences and providing tailored content where possible. Websites can legally use cookies to improve their services. They should do this by getting consent through a cookie consent policy. This helps to ensure users are comfortable with what data is being accessed and how it's being stored and how it is being protected. How should users be informed about cookies? I'm so glad you asked. So first, there should be a cookie notification. So upon first visiting a website, users should get a pop-up notification or maybe a little toast message at the top, a banner that mentions the use of cookies. This notification should explain that the website is using cookies, and it should also link to the cookie policy. Now, your cookie policy can sometimes, I've seen it many ways, but sometimes this might just be information that is in the privacy policy. If so, there should be a separate section with the header of cookies and consent to make it extra clear to users that it is considered, and that's exactly where they should find that information. And then your cookie policy. Websites should have a cookie policy. It's typically found in those footer links or inside that privacy policy. This information should detail what types of cookies are used, what data they track, how long they stay on your device, and how the information that is tracked is being used. Ideally, you should also let people know if you are sharing their information with third parties. So you should be able to look at your own website and find if you have a cookie policy and a consent notification. Visit your website from an incognito browser or from a new computer and observe, do you see any kind of pop-up or notification letting users know,
hey, we've got cookies on here. You're gonna save some data.
And then you should also have the option to accept or reject or accept just some of the cookies. So give people an option. Don't just assume that your continued use of this site means that you agree. That is one way that you can do it, but that is not necessarily the most legal way to do it. So just making sure that it is ultra clear and it gives the user a choice. If you don't have a cookie policy or the consent notification is missing, make sure that you put a consent notification on the website and then document that cookie policy. If you have a lawyer that you can consult with, you could probably have them draft a cookie consent policy or just a cookie policy and detailing the use of cookies and the data handling practices. Make sure to implement that notification mechanism the first time that they have visited your website, allowing users to accept or reject those cookies. Make sure that it is very prominent, it's very noticeable, because that is part of the legal requirements, especially for the GDPR. And then regularly review and update your cookie policy and consent practices. Miss Angie is determined to be in this video to ensure that they remain compliant with current laws and regulations. All right, ma'am, I will end this video now and we will move on to the data storage policy. I'll see you in the next one.